Hey guys, Thomas the Solution here, aka Mustached Tom, here to review the movie Hellboy. So, I did not originally review the first two Hellboys. I was not around to do those sorts of reviews at the time, but I did watch both movies, and I don't recall how I felt about them. It's been a while since I've seen the original Hellboy, so to do a comparison on my part would probably be a bit unfair since I don't really remember all that much from the original Hellboy, the two Hellboy movies. So, while I won't be comparing it, I will be saying I don't think this movie's all that great, unfortunately. So, this movie starts off in the past in 517 AD when King Arthur and Merlin went to go strike down this voice, and again, I can't afford one. Oh man, this is the worst it has ever been. Anywho, there we go. So they go off to stop a witch, and they kill the witch, and her body is spread across the world by the seven, I would believe, people. I don't remember what their thing was. Anyways, cut to Tijuana, I believe that's how it's pronounced. In present day, as Hellboy moves in to watch some sort of wrestling match, and the person inside the ring challenges him, while Hellboy wants to get him in on this investigation. However, this wrestler has, like, for some reason, he's, like, enhanced with, like, demon powers, and he, like, turns into a bat monster thing. And Hellboy eventually ends up, like, hitting him in the fight. And I will say some of the issues I have immediately with this movie is that the tone of the movie is all over the place. I mean, this is another King Arthur story, essentially. This is also very akin to, like, the bomb is gonna and they have to move from location to said stop bomb, and it is mixed in with that. It is mixed in with the King Arthur stuff. It is mixed in with trying to also tell the story of Hellboy as a character. So there are three different, like, things combating with each other in terms of, like, what story they are trying to tell. So yeah, definitely a lot going on. Anyways, he ends up, like, leaving the bar because of these two agents call him over. So he moves over to Colorado, where his dad talks to him, and then he convinces Hellboy to help him hunt down these giants according to these other lads in England. And I believe the place they were talking is called Oasis or something like that. So he's getting ready to hunt them down, these beasts. And some of the dialogue here is a little bit odd, like, oh, we have no trouble hunting these giants too, but if there's three, oh, now there's trouble. That actually is said, like, I don't even know why. And I don't know why Hellboy is like, that doesn't, but in the process, he does meet up with Elizabeth, this seer, as it's referred to as, and she talks about this Nazi hunter. I forget what his name was. He's like a gloved individual, but I don't remember what his name was, and, like, he was like a hunter of them. And it kind of goes into Hellboy's past, how he was born from a human woman. Well, we don't know that yet, but we learn that later. But a demon, he being born, and the father taking him in. We cut to an abbey where we get to see this big pig. I don't know what his name is, so I'll just call him Pig. Uh, so, anyways, the pig makes his way deeper into the alley, um, and he moves towards where the head of the witch is, and we see that he's starting to collect the body parts for her. So essentially, he's a servant. So we cut back to the little party that is with Hellboy, and when they are out in the field, they end up backstabbing him, literally, with these little poking spear prod things. And they're getting ready to essentially try to kill him. But when he's nearly unconscious, the group is attacked by the three giants that they went out to kill initially, which makes absolutely no sense if you think about it logically. If they wanted to kill Hellboy, why would they wait until they were in the location where they would find the giants? It makes no sense. It is so stupid. Why would you do that to yourselves? They end up getting killed over this decision. It is so dumb. They should have attacked Hellboy way earlier, if that was their plan. But they were so stupid that they actually waited until they were out near where they were finding these giants. I honestly have no idea why they did it this way. But anyway. So, yes, we do see that he wakes up seeing the giants feast on the bodies. Hellboy sees that there's currently two of them, and he's like, huh, where's the third? And then he gets hit by the third one, and then a fight scene ensues. It's kind of all over the place. It's good enough, I suppose. It is very reminiscent of, like, how he's able to lift heavy things. It kind of reminds me of, Metal Gear Rising, like the way that this particular scene is shot. So it's pretty akin to that specific video game. If I want to make a comparison, I'm not going to say, oh, it's just like video games. I don't think that's a fair comparison since the spectrum of video games are all over the place. So when I say compared to a video game, I want to specify that it reminds me of Metal Gear Rising so that you know what video game it's not. You know, I've seen other reviewers, Nostalgic Critic as a perfect example, say, like, it reminds you of terrible video games. It's like, come on, there are games that look fantastic. Shut up with that excuse. There are video games that look so beautiful. So when you say video games, you should probably specify what video games you are talking about. So that's a little jab at the Nostalgia Critic for you there. Anywho, jabs aside, yes, it's very akin to, as I was saying, Metal Gear Rising. So the fight scene goes on for a bit. He ends up killing all three of them, obviously. But the process of doing so left him near death once again. And suddenly, a van pops up, and he actually ends up waking up in a house very conveniently. And this is where he meets Alice, this lady this younger girl who can speak with the dead, and there was some bizarre flirting question mark with these two characters. Apparently, according to him and even the backstory, he saved her when she was a baby. She grew up a little bit, obviously, here, and now he's kind of, again, flirting with her. I'm not sure what the implication was. Again, the writing is very kind of, sort of, like when it revolves around actual characters and not exposition, it's very wonky and it's very hard to tell what the character is supposed to be doing exactly. With the exception of Hellboy in every other instance when he's whining about stuff like, oh, I just don't want to do it or whatever. As the two of them are conversing for a bit, and she reveals that a SWAT team bust in, which it's not the SWAT, but it's the team that the dad works for. They move in. I forgot what the group name was. And then we are introduced to our trio boy, Ben, who later in the movie also has a flirting moment with Alice near the end of the movie, so I'm not sure if they were supposed to be a thing or not. I don't know, whatever. So Hellboy gets a new gun, which I believe he only uses once in the movie. I forget if he uses it more than once. I think he uses it twice throughout the movie, which is a little bit short, but whatever. So they move into this inner sanctum area where all these people are killed. They see that the dead seer, which Alice is able to do this like outer body thing where she spits out the dead person, then they're all like goopy and stuff. It's really weird. So Hellboy sees the pig briefly, and he runs away. And then and then he sees the witch talking to him via she's using her powers, I suppose. We cut back in the past though after that to 1992, where we see baby Alice being changed from that to baby pig. Hellboy saves the day with her, as I mentioned, and then the replace happens afterwards. Meanwhile, the witch is getting more and more repaired, and apparently she needs one more task for Mr. Pig to do. Hold on, give me a second here. My notes are really long for this movie, so I gotta scroll down a little bit, so I do apologize if I lose my place here. Okay, so Hellboy, Alice, and Ben are all moving together now. They move back to, I believe, the facility. They do a little bit of research, and then Hellboy gets bored, and he ends up going into the elevator to leave. The elevator ends up crashing down, and he ends up in this misty location. I'm sorry, I don't know how to fix this. Anyway. So as I was saying, he meets with Baba Yaga by himself. And she initially warns him about what the witch is doing, makes a deal with him for his eye later down the road. She was very vague. She just said she wanted his eye, and then he was like, I didn't say when, bitch. There's a pretty creepy-esque scene where she reveals that the meal she is eating is made of the children. Probably one of the creepiest scenes in the entire movie. Again, tone all over the place, though. So, yeah, anyway. So, where was I? He forces... Yeah, so she ends up forcing Hellboy out. Then the three of them, Hellboy, Alice, and Ben, once again go back to traveling. And while they're sort of chilling about, Ben starts to talk about his little adventure, how he was attacked by a creature. So it goes into his backstory. And then they both kind of tell Hellboy to advance as they start to move in after that. And all this while, the creatures, the demons, are like all starting to make their way to the witch, who's now been like fully revived by Pig. Her two witch sisters, or three, I should say, witch sisters, go to her. Two of them get killed in the process. And as the witch is nearly done making her speech, she is shot by Hellboy from his gun. And then Alice and Ben start fighting a bit too there. Meanwhile, the witch starts to like pin down Hellboy, and then he eventually tries to go after Alice for a bit, but she ends up like leaving. The sister witch claims that she will help, and she tells them about Merlin. Merlin is like this old guy who's like, oh, the sword and the stone thing. He knocks out Alice and Ben in the process and moves Hellboy over. He's the one who reveals that Hellboy is half human, half demon. He is given the blade. He grabs it and he sees a vision of him with the full horns, the crown, the big tail, and he removes his hand, afraid that in this form he will be the end of the world. So we cut back to the witch causing havoc. We see her open the realm and demons literally coming out, I should say. Meanwhile, the others head back to the HQ and see the damage that was done there. So the three inside see Pig is there. They fight him. Ben gets stuck in the process of fighting him when they see him as they move over to their new location in the church where Ben is when that happens. So Ben reveals that he transforms into this cheetah-like creature. He teams up with Hellboy to fight the witch, or the pig, I should say. The witch. And then the witch sees that the pig is doing the bits, and then she's like, I'm just gonna kill you after all the help anyways. Fuck off. So she tries to persuade Hellboy to grab the sword for some reason. Like, I don't know. Like, she actually says something about wanting to die briefly for one line, and then she's all of a sudden like, no, wait, no, I actually don't want to die. It's so stupid. And the other part is like, oh, she wants to actually be with him, like, love interest. So Alice pulls out the dead dad, because he died. I got that out of order a little bit. The witch pulls out Alice and then he kills him. Then, when he dies, he proceeds to take out the Hellblade, or the Author Blade. And then you see him become that horned, crowned Hellboy. The ground quakes, and now the demons appear. They didn't appear before. I do apologize. I got that a bit out of order. They start killing people. It's probably the most grotesque scene in the entire movie, but it's very brief. The witch kneels to him, and then Ben is aiming up his gun, which he earlier on in the movie he talked to some people about getting a special bullet. Now Alice uses the dead dad to talk to him, and then he's like, "You've been whining this entire movie. Get your shit together and kill this bitch," essentially. So Hellboy removes his hand from the sword, or slices her head off, throws her head into the fire, saying a stupid line about, like, heads something, like a head pun. I forget what it was, but anyways. And then Alice and Ben are, like, talking, and there's, like, some form of flirting there. But 6 months pass, and we cut to Siberia, where Hellboy teams up with Alice and Ben. They kick some ass over all these guys. And then they make their way to this, like, container, which contains that water creature that was in the original Hellboy. And that was the Hellboy 2019 reboot. Again, I do feel like the biggest issue with this movie is its tone, its main character, and just sort of the pacing of this movie. It is all over the place. I don't mind the backstories. I feel like that's the most interesting elements of this, is when we get to learn about the other two characters, kind of. And I think they're short enough, but it is jammed within a really, again, just poorly out of tune movie that is just sort of all over the place. And Hellboy as a character, as a main character, again, he doesn't really grow as a character, unfortunately. He kind of starts as this sort of complainer character, and he ends as this sort of complainer character. I suppose, and that kind of is stupid, considering how Ben, this guy who's, like, introduced so late in the film, gets more character development accepting the whole he's a cheetah thing pretty easily. So even Ben as a character, like as a side character, gets more character development than the main character. So that should tell you how this movie is kind of just like spotted together. And again, it feels very akin to more like one of those bomb movies. It's like, oh, we gotta stop the bomb. We have 3 amount of days, and we gotta get from this location to this location. By the time we get there, the bomb will be nearly detonated, so we'll have to work quick. It's one of those types of movies, on top of being Hellboy's story, on top of being sort of this action movie too. The action scenes include him fighting the giants, him fighting Pig for a bit, him fighting, quote, fighting the witch a bit, him fighting with Cheetah Ben for a bit, you know, those types of things. So, again, this movie has a lot of stuff going on. It's also a King Arthur story, which I don't think we needed another one of those, but I guess it's fine. I don't know. But again, I still feel like there's too much happening in this movie, and I think they could have spread it out because they sequel baited at the end. So if they were willing to sequel bait, I think they should have held off on a lot of this stuff that was here and sort of split it up even more, and keep the tone consistent as well. So I'm gonna give this movie a 3 out of 10. It's not that good. The action's okay. There are some, like, the Baba Yaga thing in its own right is pretty creepy, So that's my review of Hellboy, the reboot of 2019. And if you enjoyed this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my Discord server, the other to my Patreon page. Any donations are greatly appreciated. Until next time, everyone, bye-bye.